Educational, informative, controversial content to keep you free. This is the Radio for Freedom Network, featuring The Phil Garris Show, broadcasting from the city beautiful Orlando, Florida.
Welcome to the Phil Garris Show, and I don't know if you noticed, but the alt-right has been holding free speech rallies, and last week they held one in Washington, D.C. But the problem is, there's big divisions in the alt-right movement. They seem to be eating their young. So hang on to your handlebars and tighten your seatbelt, and we're going to be right back to talk about this ill-fated rally that the alt-right had and how hardly anybody showed up.
The Phil Garris Show is only possible with listener support from you. Join us in our fight against the tyrant in the White House and restore America. With a small donation, you will receive a pocket constitution. Go to radioforfreedom.com today.
All right, welcome back to the Phil Garris Show. We're talking today about the free speech rally that was held last week in Washington, D.C. It seems like they're having real problems in the alt-right movement. They're not getting along. They're eating their young. The concept of conservative thought does not blend with fascism. According to the first speaker at this rally, Augustus-Invictus called for the alt-right to stop infighting. Well, that's a real problem. That's an indication that something's very, very wrong in this movement. What had happened was the infighting started a week before the D.C. free speech rally between the white nationalists and the Oath Keepers. The problem seemed to be that one faction supporting conservative ideology and the other faction supporting bigotry, violence, and fascism did not mix, even though organizers state that the rally was to condemn political violence. However, if you look at the YouTube videos of this rally, you'll see that Augustus-Invictus certainly threatens opposition hecklers with violence. He says, somebody get a helicopter, take that piece of shit up in the air and drop it, quote unquote, from Augustus-Invictus. He also goes on to say, free rides to commies. Thank you for that sign, my man. The alt-right movement is a little bit confused, especially when they're running around with Make America Great hats again and Trump t-shirts. I guess they haven't really thought about what Trump's been doing and how 17 U.S. intelligence agencies state that the Russians interfered with our elections and that Trump invited 3 FSA members into the White House along with the Russia media, and they banned the American media. Gee, I don't know if the alt-right knows this or not, but 3 commie agents were in the White House with Trump, mucking it up in front of the United States Air Force flag, in front of the United States Navy flag. And all these people say they're patriotic and they hate communists. Well, they're supporting a man that certainly loves the commies. He certainly loves Putin. And what was Putin? I'll tell you what Putin was. He was a KGB agent. He is the pinnacle of communism. That man will never abandon that ideology. And this is why I think the alt-right movement is very confused. And this is the reason why there's so many divisions in this movement. The alt-right movement, even though they're having problems with their ideology, they're all dressing up in business suits. They're all trying to put on the best foot forward like they're legitimate. They're wearing business suits, and these are the same people half a century ago that was wearing white hoods and white bed sheets and running around and burning down people's houses. What the alt-right is trying to do is to confuse and blend ideologies. This is why they're having such a problem in their party. You can't take conservative thought and turn it into fascism. The conservatives, people that really understand conservative thought, people that understand and have studied conservatives like Barry Goldwater, understand this, who was a staunch anti-communist, and he was a true American and at heart was a libertarian. And like Ronald Reagan said, the heart of conservatism is libertarianism. And this is what the alt-right movement is so confused about. They're taking concepts of conservative thought, libertarian thought, and they're trying to bend it into a bigot ideology, a fascist ideology, and trying to make it work. If you listen to the alt-right movement and you listen to their talking points and their rhetoric, they often blend conservative thought with fascism and try to confuse the two. They also try to blend libertarianism with fascism. They also take patriotism and bend it with fascism. They try to take Southern history and bend it with fascism. They often forsake America's security for fascism. Just like when 17 intelligence agencies say that the Russians meddled in our election. This is a threat to our democracy. But they refuse to believe this in order to support their agenda. So they would put their agenda first before the freedom and the safety of the United States to promote their ill-fated, sick ideology of fascism. They often cite the United States Constitution and blend it with fascism. They talk about freedom of speech and that they can say anything and do anything. Well, you can't yell fire in a crowded theater with freedom of speech, and this is what these people are doing. They're making hateful speech that is damaging to the United States and damaging to the citizens of the United States. One of the most important points of this hate speech and this ideology of fascism is that they target young people. Young people have not had the opportunity to formulate their thoughts, and they don't have the background history of the United States or politics. They're just trying to make their way in the world, and what a lot of young people see is a confusing government. They see a government in turmoil. They see a government in which a lot of fake stories are being floated. They're seeing a lot of influence by Russia with these fake stories, and they don't have the experience to sort them out. And what the alt-right is doing is they're taking advantage of this. They're taking advantage of young people. They're trying to make young people, especially young white males, think that they are affluent, powerful, and special. But somehow, in some way, they are a victim. And what they are a victim of is they're a victim of taxation. They're a victim of people of color that are taking their jobs. They're a victim of Muslims coming into the country, taking their jobs, and mounting terrorist attacks, even though there was less than a few people last year killed by Muslims in this country. In fact, more people died falling out of their bed than were killed by Muslims. But this is the dirty trick that fascism use. They want to create an atmosphere of necessity, that you got to do something. Something's wrong. You need to act now. But let me tell young people what is really going on. You're being manipulated and you're being conned. It's normal for democracy to be a chaotic process. Our founding fathers knew this. They knew that there would be a lot of discussion about issues and some heated and passionate debates about issues. There's nothing wrong with this. This is the process of democracy, and this is the way our country was set up. That people have the freedom to talk about the issues and debate the issues passionately. And this is what you're seeing. So don't be fooled by the fascist and the right-wingers, and certainly don't be fooled by the word con in conservative. There's a lot of good conservative people out there, and I urge young people to take a page from history and go back and read about early libertarians, Henry David Thoreau, Walt Whitman, and the enlightened authors of the United States literature movement. And also go ahead and study American early politicians about conservative thought, like Barry Goldwater. And you'll find that it's quite different than what you're hearing now. Well, thank you very much for listening to the Phil Garris Show, and have a good day. And remember to vote.
The Phil Garris Show is only possible with listener support from you. Join us in our fight against the tyrant in the White House and restore America. With a small donation, you will receive a pocket constitution. Go to radioforfreedom.com today.